He's counting us down, folks. So I guess welcome to another episode of Missouri Swagger. It's episode 7, I believe.
It feels
I'm
like
Dennis
episode
Hopeless,
9.
and
It feels like episode 9 because we've had to stop our recording 3 times so far.
that's true. And Cullen's about to tell the same joke he's told 3 times
It
now.
it's still funny.
Do it. Hit it. Hit it.
It's Dennis Hopeless and Cullen Bunn, two comic book writers. We have dozens of titles between us, and yet Dennis cannot afford all the buttons on his shirt.
And still, they're there. I've just chosen not to button them because I've been at the lake for 5 days, and this is my comfortable lake gear. I went to the Lake of the Ozarks. It's a fine Missouri attraction. You might know it from the Jason Bateman show that the people of the Ozarks are not proud of.
Valerie's
I mean,
family?
not that one.
Oh,
No, it's called Ozark. It's actually a really good show. It's sort of Breaking Bad adjacent, but it's set at the Ozarks. It's about money laundering and white trash criminality. But yeah, the people who live there do not like that as a frame of reference. They make it clear that that is not how things are, and they also will tell you that Party Cove is not what it once was. I heard that about 10 times. Party
you
Cove is a
avoided
place
it,
where
right? You're like, partying. None of that
I
for
mean,
none of that for
uh,
me.
I might tell my Party Cove story as my Missouri Swagger story at the end
I
of the
don't know
episode,
if
but
it's the one you were telling me earlier. You may wanna rethink
it,
that.
it doesn't make me look good.
It doesn't.
But yeah, no, we that is a place where a bunch of boats tie up together and people get very drunk and silly. But yeah, apparently at some point in the recent past, it was much more impressive than it is now, according to everyone over 40 who talks about Party Code.
All right. Well, I'm glad you had fun. Everybody
It
deserves
was
a vacation.
it was a grand time. It's beautiful down there.
That's awesome. This call almost didn't happen. Right before this we started recording, my son's school called to ask where he was, and I dropped him off this morning. Watched him go in the side of the school, so I was in a total panic. Not half hour ago, I was in full panicked, drenched in sweat mode because I thought my
Did they
son was missing.
did they find him?
They did find him, but there was a good 10 minutes when I was waiting on calls that they didn't. I called the school and I said, "Where's my kid?" And they said, "You know what? We'll go look for him. If we don't call you back, that means we found him." And I was like, "No, no, that doesn't work for me. You call me
You
regardless."
call me back whether you find him.
I mean,
Yeah.
I was already in the car driving to the school to go on a search, but they found him. He's fine. But if I seem a little more jittery than usual, it's because my son is my. I was terrified for that my son was missing.
No, you're cool as a cucumber, as per usual.
Awesome. All right, so Dennis, today we are going to do questions. Questions from
Oh, excellent.
our dozens of fans.
The laziest topic we could come up with. But I've got headphones on. Listen, I've got headphones on. As far as I know, I'm in the correct Skype mode, and I have a microphone. It's a real microphone. Everyone thinks I have some sort of trash microphone, but Kevin Mellon gave me what at least appears to be a real microphone. So this is the best we can do at the moment.
All right. Well,
Sound.
let's just jump right into it. All right.
All right.
Very topical question here from at Strictly Worse at Twitter. Is Dennis's bad audio just part of the fun?
I mean, at the moment, yes. Look, Cullen and I have planned on doing this, doing a show for almost a year, like a good long while. We've been talking about it and planning how we're going to do it. And it became obvious that if we didn't just turn on a camera and throw the damn thing online, we were never going to actually do it. So what we're doing is finding our sea legs live and in color for you people. And one of those things is I have no technical expertise. I didn't have a microphone to begin with. I've sounded bad on every podcast I've ever been a guest on. So I think that we'll get there and we'll make the adjustments. It's just we're kind of making them slow as we go along. So yes, for now, the low fidelity of this broadcast is meant to be funny. And eventually, it'll be like when you go back and look at your favorite web comic and before the person figured out how to draw the characters. That's what
It'll,
this is.
it'll be nothing like that. Eventually, I'm just going to ditch you, and it'll just be me.
Well, that'll be a better show.
It will be.
And then you can just do Hopeless Cast without my face laughing, or you read my.
That's right. All right. Next question. We got another good one here. At Comic Book Yeti asks us, What are the questions you wish interviewers would ask, but they never do? Where's your button, Dennis? That's what I would ask. That's what I wish people would ask you.
Where's your button?
Where's your damn button?
I don't know that I like answering questions enough to think of questions I'd like to people to ask me.
That's a great attitude on the question and answer
Well,
portion of our show.
I'm weird too. Like, I love my job. I like talking about my job on some level, but nothing in life makes me more uncomfortable than when someone, like a stranger, just out in public, asks me what I do, because then I know they're going to be interested and I'm going to have to talk about it. And I don't have like prepared answers for it. So like, I like talking about in-depth story questions or answering questions about the genesis of a certain arc, or like what characters I like the kind of questions we're going to get on here I like. But if like just some guy at a bar finds out I write comics and start asking me questions, I want to leave that bar immediately. So in a lot of ways, I feel like my favorite question would be fewer questions.
Interesting.
What about you?
All right, that's it for the show then. We're done.
What about you?
Well, first of all, I want to say that answer was the most narcissistic answer I've ever heard. I hate when people ask me about my job because I know they're going to be very interested.
What listen, we live in Missouri. When you go to LA, nobody gives a rat's ass. Like if they can find out that you're in comics, they're like, okay, and then it's over with. But in the middle of the country, most people don't have creative jobs, and they are excited when they meet someone who does. Like when I meet parents from my kids' school, like parents of my kids' friends, they're always super excited to talk about my job, and I am not.
We have vastly different experiences with people's interest in our careers then, because
really?
Yes, no one's ever interested.
In Springfield, Missouri, people are like, oh, ho hum, Cullen. I think you just talk too much, so everyone's sick of fucking hearing it. I think that's what the answer is.
All right, Dennis. All right. Yeah, all right. I'm glad your audio sucks. All right. I don't know what I would want people to ask me. No one ever asked me about my job before comic books, and I wish people would talk about that a little bit more. I mean, not ad nauseum, but I was pretty good at my job, and I worked in marketing and sales before I became a full-time comic book creator. But I was also like in charge of running all our meetings, making sure running all the special projects, and I was really good at that job. And sometimes I regret that no one admires me the way they should for how good I was as a project manager and a team facilitator and a marketing manager.
And somehow my fucking answer was narcissistic? You want them to talk to you about your corporate job?
Look, Dennis, I'm not saying that I'm not narcissistic. I'm saying that you shouldn't be.
I'm not good enough. All right, next question. Moving right along.
All right. Hey, this one comes from @CindyBunn. And she says, here's a question that she received from an anonymous source. They asked, Cullen, how did you end up with such an awesome wife? She's the bee's knees.
I agree.
I do agree. She is the bee's knees. I swiped right when I should have swiped right. That's all I can say.
Wait, you guys really met on? That would have been early, right? Early online dating.
There was no Tinder when we met, so I just I got very, very lucky, and I thank the heavens every day. So that anonymous question that you received, Cindy, that's the answer. Is I thank the heavens every day, and I just got very lucky.
Where did you meet? Why didn't you actually answer the question?
Because it's nobody's
How
business.
did you meet?
It's nobody's business.
Was it a church potluck? Was it in the basement?
It was a church potluck, Dennis.
Okay.
We met. All right, here we go. Back to the narcissism. We met at a birthday party that I threw for myself. It's true.
So did the invitations tell your friends to bring single women with them?
Yes, in fact they did. So there you go.
It worked out great.
That's right.
Well done.
Yeah.
Well executed.
Now, that last question came from someone who loves me. This question comes from someone who loves you. @Jude Terra asks the following. If Missouri Swagger were a pro wrestling team, which of you would be most likely to turn on the other, and what foreign object would you use to attack your former partner?
The answer is definitely you. You're one of the meanest people that I've ever met, and you're, I feel like, centimeters away from attacking me at all times.
I'm drinking kombucha tea though; it mellows me out.
So what would you hit me with?
I would hit you with the Bleeding Cool website because they attack you so much anyway. So
Just all the time. Yeah, Juter has a running gag in his columns about other things revolving around us, about how I am not good enough to be on this show with you, which is very strange. Because I'm obviously too good to be on this show with you, and it's like a charity act for me to be here.
yes, I would agree though. I would turn on you, and yeah, I would hit you with Bleeding Cool
Like a
because
laptop,
yeah, I mean, I guess I
desktop.
have to. It has to be on a laptop, right? I
All right,
just
fair.
hit you with Jude Terra. I just swing it right up at you, and then
All right, fair enough.
he could write an awesome story about uh, how awesome I am. Although he never writes that either. He just writes how terrible we all
Hi,
we all of us are.
on our show. He doesn't like our show. He apparently watches it and wants to have questions answered on
Well,
it.
he does want to have questions. So there you go, Jude. I've known that guy for. I mean, I don't think I've ever met Jude, but I've known him for many years when he was with the Outhousers, and then sold out and became a Bleeding Cool flunky.
Okay, I have a question.
All
This one
right,
was sent to me
let's do it.
from Anonymous.
Why is Dennis
Have,
so awesome?
have you ever thought of writing a story based around a tow truck crucifix?
All right, now I know. That's. I knew my wife was texting somebody this morning, and I didn't know who she was texting. Now I know who she was texting. Yes. Have you ever thought of that, Dennis?
Yes, every time I'm behind one, I think it's like crazy that there's a cross on the back of the tow truck.
My
It's a
love and
big,
order.
people don't know what the fuck we're talking about. There's a big metal, it looks like a metal crucifix that is on the back of a tow truck when there's not a car being towed, and it drops down and goes underneath the car and lifts the car up. It's like one of the kind that pulls the car up at an angle and drags it. But when that truck is just driving out without a car on it, it's got a massive metal crucifix that would be the perfect size for crucifying a human propped up on the back. So I knew exactly what she was talking about.
Yeah, she has long wanted me to write a story about a serial killer who mounts people on that crucifix-like object. So I was wondering who she
Why
was.
won't you?
I don't know. I guess I should. I was wondering what strange man she was texting this morning, and now I know.
It
So
was me.
great. I'm actually very disappointed in her. Um, all right, let's see. That was Jude's question. Oh, here's one from at Matt Leggetti. Cullen, have you ever wanted to wear a blazer and pretend to be Brian K. Vaughan at conventions? No, but I have wanted to wear a blazer and pretend to be Brian K. Vaughan at his bank and withdraw money from his account because I think that would be fun for me. Actually,
Well, that part.
I think Brian K. Vaughan's a lot more fit than I am, and I mean I'm obviously the better looking of the two, but I think
I
he's
met him at the first New York Comic Con, so that was many moons ago, but that's the last time I've seen him.
yeah, because he's like I don't need this business anymore. He's like I'm done with it.
He's certainly not willing to meet the likes of me.
He's certainly not doing a Missouri Swagger video channel.
Not yet. Just wait. Just you wait. We are going to be trendsetters.
All right, if you say so. Um, all right. At Council of Caleb asks both of us. Both of you gents are parents now, but historically you've written more mature titles. Do you now write with the next generation in mind? Do you think you'll write something directly geared towards your kids? And how will you try to instill the love of the medium in them? You want to go with that one, Dennis? You want to take that one first?
I suspect that my children will hate comic books. They like it now. They don't read yet. My kids aren't even 4 yet, so they don't read. But they like to flip through the comic books in the back of my car, which like the cleanest thing I can give them. 'Cause all I have in paper form is Hellboy comics and Saga. So I can't really give them Saga. Um, and Jasmine gave me a bunch of Lion Forge stuff, which is what I've replaced Hellboy with. That's a lot more. That stuff is more age appropriate.
Sure.
But yeah, for a while my kid was looking at the red guy, which is Hellboy, and then I would take him away if someone got disemboweled or something.
Right.
They like him now, but I think because it's what we do for a living, once they hit a certain age, that's boring and mundane. It's like Dad's thing. Um, I don't know. Have you experienced that with
Yeah,
Squish?
my son has no interest in comic books. He's not into it. He likes the idea that some comic books are worth money and that he can collect comic books and sell them. Therefore, he's not in any of mine because none of mine are worth money. But but uh, but he doesn't want to read them. And I mean, I've tried to have him read comics. He just doesn't get into it. Right now, he's reading a book called The Last Kids on Earth, which is a prose book but kind of mixes some comic stuff in there. And he's read like the Captain Underpants books and things like that, which have a lot of comic elements to comic book elements. But he's not a huge fan. Um, I have written books for kids. I mean, I did a book for Omni Press called Terrible Lizard, which was a kid's book. I've written prose books for kids. Crooked Hills, which I guess is out of print right now, but is a horror novel for kids that's set in the Ozarks. And then I've got another kids horror comic that I can't really talk about too much that's coming out at some point soon.
Now I
But
have a book. My big creator-owned launch of next year is about 50% a kids comic and 50% something else. I'm co-writing it with
50% porn.
a friend. No, it's got a tone shift thing. I'm not gonna. It's not announced yet, so I can't talk about it. But that will be the most um, kid-oriented thing I think that I've ever done. I've considered it because yeah, my stuff doesn't appeal to them at all
Right.
because of the kind of tone that I've written. And I watch having little kids. You watch a lot of really bizarre, skewed for younger audiences television. Like I've watched a great deal of Bubble Guppies and Paw Patrol and Rescue Bots and things. And what my mind does is takes the worlds of that show, the worlds those shows take place in, and tries to extrapolate out some sort of sense. Because like Bubble Guppies, for instance, takes place underwater, but there's squirrels and trees and monster trucks and things that don't make much sense.
I'm
And I
familiar with
have
Bubble Guppies. It's been around for a while.
I've created an entire like caste system that exists because the Bubble Guppies, the kids in the preschool, are the only mermaid people that we see, and everybody else is crustacean. So I think the
No,
mer
Mr.
people are
Grouper's a
the
fish.
true, true. But I think that the mer people are the ruling class, and that's why we never see the adults, and the underclasses are the crustaceans and the fish, and they're tasked with taking care of these people that will one day rule them. And that's why when they go to the monster truck pool, the kids or monster truck rally, tractor
It's a
pull.
rally.
It's a rally.
It's a
Yes.
tractor pull.
That's why they're allowed to get in the monster truck because these kids can do whatever the fuck they want because their parents will kill and eat everyone otherwise. Um,
All right, fair
and
enough.
that is not explicitly stated in the show, but that's what I get from it. Same thing with Paw Patrol. Paw Patrol takes place in a city where the mayor calls a young boy and his talented dogs to take care of every single situation that comes up. And
You
I
do
think
know
that
that
that thing might
Jude
just be.
Terra has already written about you talking about Paw Patrol on the show, and now you are just giving him ammunition.
I don't care. Look, I've said this on Twitter before. I tried to impress Jude Terra for long enough, and I've given up.
All right,
I'm never going to impress that man. That's fine.
you're just one kid's cartoon away. I feel like. All right,
Or we do
next.
rescue bots?
No, don't do rescue bots. All right, next question. Um, from Ron Barr 316, Ronnie Barron, who helps us with our getting our podcast version of this show out there. Uh, First of all, thank you, Ronnie. Do you guys care if readers read digitally versus print, or who cares as long as they read your stuff? And then each of you, oh, and I don't know if I know this one, each of you give an example of a Missouri word or term that isn't used anywhere. Holy cow. I don't know if I know the answer to that one, Ronnie. All right, anyway, do you care, Dennis, if they read digitally or in print?
No, obviously, I don't care at all. I want people to read my stuff. We get royalties from either way. I'm currently doing Cloak and Dagger, which is digital first, so the books only come out digitally. And from my perspective, other than the fact that 2 and 3 issues come out at a time, so I can kind of tie the stories together a little bit more over the 20 pages, it's the same. I
Yeah.
don't care.
Yeah, I don't care either. I want people to read the books as long as, the only thing I don't like is when people, like, illegally scan them in and post them on the internet.
Right.
But yeah, if you're buying the book or I don't care, however how you choose to read it. I'm just glad you're reading it. So thanks.
And I can give you, I can't, I don't know, these are not Missouri words, but they're my family words. My mother and my grandmother, when my mom was a child, called the heat ducts in the ground heat holes where the warm air came up. When I was a kid, we called the remote control the TD box.
Nice.
And my dad, when we were going around a corner sharply as a child, and he wanted us to hang on, would say, "Hang on tight to your Bodak sack." I don't know what that is.
Bodak sack. Well, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is either. But I'm going to use it from now on.
and you should give us what your dad would say too.
A pretty girl?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. This isn't a Missouri term, but it is what my dad would say, and I've told Dennis many times that that if ever you want to impress a lady, that all you have to do is to say what my dad would say, and he would say to these ladies, "Cuz tre la de da," and he swears that that's all you need to win a woman over. So there you go. Try that out.
I'm pretty confident I've never once impressed a lady, number one. And number two,
I'm confident
no
of that
lady
too.
you ever told that story to agreed with him.
Well, maybe that's because they didn't want to admit it. Try cuz tre la de da sometimes, folks, and then get back to us with your results. If you could record you doing it, like a video, we will post the videos on Missouri Swagger because I think that would be awesome. Cuz tre la de
I
da.
think we should not. That is a terrible
But you
idea.
gotta say,
Because that could be catcalling.
no, it's not. You're not
That is
catcalling.
not.
You're walking up. You're actually speaking to the person. You're saying to them. You're looking
Yeah,
at
to
them.
a woman that does not want you to say a weird thing to her.
If she's talking to you already, that doesn't work.
Okay, well, if you're in the middle of a conversation, okay.
Right.
I'm just afraid we're going to send people off to harass strangers, and that's a bad idea.
Dennis, no, yes, please. No one harass Please don't harass people with cuz tre la de da. But let's say you're Dennis. You're out in public. Someone asks what you do for a living. You say, "Hey, I'm a comic book writer," and they're obviously enraptured by you instantly. And they're talking to you, and they're hanging on your every word. Then you hit them with a cuz tre la de da. But you got to say it that way. If you can't do it that way, forget it anyway. But please don't harass people. I take it back. Don't say, Jude Terra, please don't say I'm encouraging people to harass people. That was a dumb idea, I guess. Unless you're Dennis. All right,
No.
moving on. If you could work on, Bdon Smith 88, which sounds, that's Brandon Smith, but his username sounds like a porn name. If you could work on something DC related, what would you both like to work on? Go, Dennis.
My favorite character from childhood is Guy Gardner because when I was a little kid I read Justice League International and I love Guy Gardner. I was Guy Gardner for Halloween once. I could give you a photo to put on the video of me as Guy Gardner.
If you please
So
give me that photo yet again. I need all the photos of you in cosplay.
So my answer has always been Guy Gardner, although now that I write comics and have learned that oftentimes my favorite characters to write are the ones I was the least familiar with, that might not play out. But yeah, I guess Guy Gardner is the easiest answer.
All right, let's go. Mine would be Swamp Thing. Actually, today, as of this recording, the Suicide Annual that I wrote came out and features Swamp Thing in a big way. But I'd like to do more Swamp Thing. I'd like to do an ongoing Swamp Thing series. So there you go.
All right.
Go buy Suicide Squad Annual. All right, we got a couple more time for a couple more questions before your Missouri Swagger story, Dennis. Comps. So Too Many Hobbies at Too Many Hobbies asked us comps. What are they? Why are they? Where are they? And do you get the ratio variance?
No, well, it depends. Boom, for instance, on WWE, Boom sends me one copy of every variant and like 4 or 5 of the regular cover, which is awesome because I sell those at cons and they're a good way to get people to my table because they're like awesome illustrations of wrestlers from the past, present, and future. Whereas Marvel, I don't get any variants. I get 4 copies of the trade, 4 copies of the single issues, and 1 copy of any hardcover, and that is all. And then what they are is physical copies of your work that are sent to you. I mean, I guess just to have. Like the best thing to use them for, especially early in your career, is to send to editors to make them familiar with your work.
Right.
Because you have, the free copies of your work to be like, hey, this is what I do. I'd like to work again, whatever. At this point, since we are so comic book famous that everyone knows our work and is thrilled to work with us, we are able to like decoupage them onto things in our homes so that we can have our comic books on like a end table or a sweet tea pitcher.
That's right. Yeah, and as far as I think it's I get I think the comps come at random intervals, right? Like sometimes you get them the week before the comic comes out, sometimes you get them the week after the comic comes out. Uh, Usually, it depends on the publisher. It could be anywhere from, like if it's like Marvel or DC, you're usually going to get a handful, 5 to 10 copies. If it's creator owned, you usually get a lot more. You could get, 25, 50 copies. Um, and as far as the variants, that to me, it's always been a by editor uh, situation because there's been plenty of comics that I've never, I'm always at conventions signing books that I've never even seen because of these
Yeah.
variants that I'm not familiar with. But I had a few editors who used to send me uh, all the comps. Like I know with Darth Maul, I got all the variants,
Oh,
including
awesome.
like the really rare, like the ones that I don't even know what they're from. I kept them all. I keep all those just because I like to have like an archive of all my BS comic books. But very rarely do I get the incentive variants though. That's at least not for non-creator owned stuff. With creator owned books, I almost always get at least a copy of all the variants. Sometimes 25 copies of the variant. So, uh, but yeah, and yeah, Dennis is right. The real I don't think you're even supposed to sell them, right? Did you say that?
Are you not?
I don't know. Once I heard you were not supposed to sell them, but you know,
I don't know. I sell. I
yeah,
mean, I don't
too
like
bad.
sell them online, but I take everything to cons to get rid of. I don't have the room in my life for that much paper.
Yeah, I've got so many comps now in my storage area here that it's ridiculous. I was just at a convention this weekend and I basically just piled up comps on the table and gave them to people.
Yeah, I sell the singles. I have a dollar box, and I
Yeah.
just make a grab bag where people can pull out for a dollar to give people that don't have your thing anything with them something for you to sign. That's how I get rid of my comps at the local shows. I don't even take them to the bigger shows, except for the WWE ones I do, because again, you lay a bunch of wrestling photos out on your table. It's a good way to get people to come over, and then I can sell them trade. Um,
Okay. All right. We have a few more questions. We'll try to get to them in a future show, but we're closing in on our time here. So I want Dennis to tell us his Missouri Swagger story. I would not tell
okay,
the
so
story you were thinking of. I would tell a different Missouri Swagger story.
I will tell it without making myself look as much of a clown as I was. But okay, so Party Cove is a spot at Lake of the Ozarks. It's a cove that everybody's aware of. And apparently, at some point in the recent past, thousands of people would show up at this cove and they tie all of their boats together. Because, like pontoons and ski boats and stuff, you tie them together with these buoys between them, and then it makes just a long snake or a series of long snakes of boats. And then everybody can get in the water or walk across the boats or whatever. And supposedly, this is supposed to be crazy party will go on. Now, this weekend was not like a super crazy weekend. It wasn't Labor Day or Memorial Day or 4th of July. There weren't a billion people there. And we got there in pretty early, like 11 a.m. There's nobody there. So we pull into this area, like, well, this is it. There's like three other boats visible, and just started hanging out. And after a little while, a couple more boats showed up, and this group of pontoon boats with people on it tied up next to us. And you anchor your boat, and your boat can kind of swing around on the anchor. So we got kind of close to it, like, hey, you guys want to come over? So we pull our boat up and tie up with these strangers, boat full of strangers. And it turns out to be a bunch of military police from all over the country who are in town for some sort of class at one of the nearby bases, and this is their day off. And the first thing these people have me do is shotgun a beer by straight arming it, which is where you open a beer and hold it up over your head and try to pour it into your mouth from the length of your arm. And then they started giving me apple Crown Royal by the swig. And and yeah, it turns out that I don't know what happens at Party Cove after about 1 o'clock in the afternoon because I never saw it fill up with boats. I'm told it filled up with boats. I'm told that military police officers are very nice and will help you drive your boat out of Party Cove when it's super packed when your boyfriend is very, very inebriated and incapable of doing that. And I got a nice tan for the 5 hours I don't remember.
Were
afterward.
any body parts drawn on your face?
No, they were very nice. From what I understand, I don't remember a lot of this, but from what I understand, these people were very nice and helpful. They also loved me. Like for the 20 minutes that they got to know me, they thought I was fantastic. Um, I'm good Missouri people. And yeah,
Everybody loves you.
somehow, my amazing girlfriend was not even particularly angry with me when I finally woke up and it was time to take the boat back. She just spent a nice, quiet day on the lake, basically alone, hoping I didn't die.
That's why she wasn't angry at you because you didn't bug her the entire day.
And she got some peace and quiet for
Yeah.
one day of the weekend.
I like that you got on a boat with a bunch of 20-year-olds
They were
who
24 at least.
who thought you were a 20-something-year-old. Good on you. That's great. But they apparently tricked you into believing that you were one of them and that you could do these straight arm beer shots and your apple Crown Royal and function like a human being. But okay. Good for you.
It, when listen, when they told me that they were shocked that I am in my 30s, by shocked by my age, I should have taken away from that. You are not the same age as these people and should probably not try to drink like them. That did not cross my mind. Also, Crown Royal was my dad's drink, and the last time I don't drink that much. I don't like being super drunk because
Right.
I don't like listening the next day. And so the last time I remember being that crazy drunk was my dad's first birthday after he passed. I bought a bottle of Crown Royal, and another stupid person and I sat and drank it, like passing it back and forth in about 12 minutes. And the same sort of situation happened.
Yeah,
I got sick
that's
and
what
blacked
Crown
out.
Royal does to you.
Um, but it was my dad's drink. Like I have a whole set of Crown Royal glasses because my dad got so many holiday boxes over the years that have like 36 Crown Royal etched glasses. So yeah, Crown Royal is kind of my kryptonite because of that.
All right, that's good to know, everyone. Send us some Crown Royal. Don't do that.
That's a very Missouri story. If you want to go hang out with military police, we'll get you blackout drunk. Lake of the Ozarks, party
That was a
cover.
good story. I liked it. I'm glad you had a good vacation.
That's good.
Thank you everybody for listening. Cuz Trey La De Da, but don't go say that to anybody. Apparently, I don't know. I don't care. Don't. It's not our fault if you do.
That's
Um,
it.
and I guess if you like the video, you can hit the little like button and please subscribe.
I don't know where it is.
It's
It's
either
something.
up there or it's somewhere.
Yeah.
You know what a like button looks like.
Yeah.
But yeah, please like the video and subscribe and tell us what you think in the comments.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks, folks.
Thanks, everybody.